Welcome back to another episode of the Cadre Concept. I'm your host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Shane McGraw. Nice pearly whites today, sir.
Thank you. I need to wear my retainers more.
Did you ever get those straightened? Did you ever wear braces?
Oh, dude, I'm told this is a perfect jaw. It's been reconstructed and, oh man.
Yeah, by the bionic man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to the dentist, I always have all this, x-rays have all these wires and screws in it, and everybody's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, really? Like you actually have wires and screws in there right now?
Yeah, I had, when I was young, I had a, kind of my top thing was in a point.
Yeah.
Apparently more internal than external, but it was causing a lot of problems with my breathing and biting and stuff. So when I was about 18, I got a surgery to have my upper jaw broken. So they cut it from here to here.
Whoa.
Cut it off, and then they split it and then repositioned it so it was sticking out. But it was, then I had this giant hole right here between these two big teeth that I could put my pinky in and close.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
And then I got braces. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I always told her, you're a saint. You're a saint. You would date me when I look like this.
Wow.
It was horrible. And then about 6 years later or so, I had the second surgery because it was a two-parter where they broke and took the bottom jaw, broke it, and then scooted it forward and aligned it, everything, and then put it all back together.
Yeah.
So, this is all. I got nose construction.
Wow. Dude, you are the $1 million man. I love it.
So those of you who are super jealous and envious of this, just know that money can buy this.
Right. Phew. Good. There's hope for me. That's good.
It was horrible. I got colitis on the second one, which is basically like your body rejects everything. And so it's coming out of both ends. And I had these big retainers in my mouth and then had it wired shut. And I'm like, it was
no.
I mean, I would have sold all my trade secrets and all my secret stuff to anybody just to get rid of that stuff. It's horrible.
Oh my God, that's awful. That's awful. Well, it all worked out for you in the end. You look amazing. You look
Thank you.
like all this is like.
It's funny because now my kids kind of look like me, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
You could tell they're my kids, but this is not real. This is so.
That's too funny. Right on, man. Well, we're talking about dogs today. Every selfish man should buy a dog.
That's the subject. Yep.
Wow. I mean, so what inspired that?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a story I think I should tell, because I think that people can resonate with stories. Many people out there are dog people already, and they already understand the value of a dog. And I never really, when I was young, my dad, we had dogs always, and cats and anything else that we wanted. We had lots of things we didn't take care of.
Right.
But, he always had mean dogs, like Doberman Pinschers, Rottweilers, those kind of dogs. And he'd beat them up. He'd punch them and, kick them when they did something wrong, and, throw them out of the house if they pooped and stuff. And so that's how I grew up. I didn't really know any different. He was just very hard on animals. And I'd feel bad for him. Like everybody innately knows that you don't like hurt another thing.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. But I recognized that they needed to have discipline, and they needed to, do what they were told, and they can't go to the bathroom in the house, and they need to guard the house and things like that. So I just never really, I always liked dogs, but I never really took to one on my own. My wife, when we were first married, she was like, hey, we need to get a dog. I've always had a dog. And she's like, I've always had poodles. So we ended up getting this little toy poodle. He's stately and he prances and he's high maintenance. He's a grumpy old man. And I've never really liked him, even though I love him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just kind of worthless, He doesn't jump in the truck or do anything cool. And I was like, I don't know. So now my dog is almost 13. He's been in our life for our whole life. Now he's a stinky, grumpy old man.
Yeah.
And he's just interesting. So I decided about a year ago that I wanted to get my own dog, Shane dog.
Shane's dog.
Yeah, but I'm super selfish, I got a lot of stuff going on all the time, and who's going to watch the dog? I don't want to neglect it. We travel a lot. What are we going to do with the dog? All these expenses that would, you'd have to put them up in dog care and shots and all this stuff. And I'm like, I just don't. Dog people are weird. Like, why are they so about their dogs, and why are they spending their time at the dog parks? And then I kind of had this thing where I picked a dog based on all the looks. It was an Australian Shepherd and Poodle mix, an Aussie Doodle.
Aussie Doodle.
Super cool. In fact, do you want to see? You want to meet
Remy?
Yeah.
Remy? Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Remy.
Oh yeah, let's see. It's like show and tell.
This is Miss Remy right here.
Oh,
Here.
Remy, that's awesome.
In the whole wide world. She loves her dad.
I love it.
Huh. And when she's passed out, she's like in a dog coma. She literally just passes her back out.
Yeah, right. She's back.
So I bring her with me everywhere I go. And right when it was down to judgment decision time, my wife is kind of saying no. And, they're a little expensive. And, just, getting one, we're going to have to ship it from another state. And so a bunch of things aligned, and we were able to find a dog that was actually in our state down the road, only about an hour and a half away, and for the right price and the right, it was a girl and everything that I wanted.
Wow.
And so we decided to, she's going to eat. So we decided to get her. And right when I was at the moment deciding, my wife finally said I could, because she was kind of dragging her feet, because we don't, practically don't need a dog. So I decided I was getting her, and I called my friend and I'm like, dude, I'm having a hard time saying yes. And he's like, it's because you're selfish. And I was like, you know what? It's totally true. Cause I mean, they're like a baby. They're dependent on you and everything. Like you have to, every 30 minutes, they got to go to the bathroom, and you got to get up and walk them out, and you got to stay out there for 10 minutes so that they can do both of their duties and clean up after them and chew toys and kennels. And I mean, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So every selfish man should have a dog. So I'm selfish by nature. I really am. So I got this gal, this little dog, and now I'm walking her and teaching her how to sit and lay and come and fetch. And I'm reading books about dogs, and I am addicted to having her around.
Wow.
And it's making me, I'm a guy who doesn't slow down very much. I got a lot going on all the time, but I don't want her pooping in my office.
Right.
So and then, dogs, if you don't exercise them, they misbehave. They need to, they're dogs.
Right.
They need to get out and go. They're not meant to just sit there and be docile. And who wants a dog that does that anyways? So I grab this dog every 30 minutes or hour or so, and I take her, we go on walks, and I carry little poop bags and after her. And I got a leash, and like every place in my house has dog bowls now. And I got like the deodorizing pet odor spray everywhere. And I took my car to have it cleaned, and it stunk. And the guy was like, "You've never had a dirty car before." And I was like, "I know, I don't know what to do."
That's amazing.
So it's like, this is a whole new thing for me. But every dog, every selfish man should buy a dog or have a child.
Or have a child. Yeah. Yes. Dogs grow out of the puppy phase faster than kids. I mean, if you don't have a kid right now and you're deciding, but
a little bit harder,
dude, that's taking me back right now. Last summer we got our puppy too.
I'm a dog person now, and I'm learning so much from her. I'm learning stuff about, what dogs have that we don't have. They're not worried about tomorrow. They're really not. They're worried about today. They're present. I mean, I could go over there and kick her as hard as I could and hurt her physically and emotionally. And tomorrow she would still want to love me. She's loyal. She's kind. She genuinely just wants to be around me. Everywhere I go, she wants to lay at my feet. Everything I do, she'll run. Well, I took her on an hour and a half walk through the woods this morning, and she'd only get like maybe a foot or 2 foot in front of me, and then she'd slow down, and she's got an Australian Shepherd in her. So she would stop and she'd herd me. She'd like put her butt, and she'd try to bump me to turn and stuff. And she's got her own personality, and it's amazing that I have been so selfish for all this time, but I've deprived myself of having an animal to care for and to be cared by, she cares for me too. And it's enriching. It is. Yeah. It's enriched my life a lot. And I can't believe that I've wasted so much time. I think every person, especially us selfish folks, should go get a little puppy and give them the best part of us, because it's truly fulfilling. It's really awesome. Yeah. You're a dog person.
Yeah. We got our puppy last summer, like a year ago. Yeah. She's just over a year and a half, or not a year. Yeah. Just over a year. There's a lot of work. She's a year into it though. She's starting to mellow, which is good. Cause I was like, I'm selfish too. I'm clear. She pushed my buttons all sorts of ways to Sunday. Very stubborn breed. We have a Rhodesian Ridgeback. They're very hard-headed. Like they think, like they just, anyway. So we've had lots of like come to Jesus meetings with the dog. We're like, battle of the wills.
Well, I bought a book because I don't know anything about dogs. That guy, Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer.
Yeah. I used
And
to
I
watch
watched a
that
bunch
show.
of YouTube videos and stuff, and I've only read maybe 30 or 40 pages of the book, but I'm already learning. He talks about this pack culture and who's going to be the leader of the pack, them or you, and how
Right.
it's going to go. And like he starts basically, if you replace the word dog and put people in it, it's the same thing. And he talks about your dog will communicate to you. All you got to do is actually listen.
Mm.
You know, if you pay attention to their modalities and like their body languages, like my dog, if you could see her, if I call her name, she'd go, she always turns her
Right.
head and she's like,
Yeah.
what are you saying? What are you saying? And she's thinking.
Yeah.
And so I know that when she's sitting there thinking and she doesn't come to me, she's trying to figure out what I want. And she's not necessarily trying not to listen.
Right. Right.
And it helps me just like be patient and understand that I got to learn her and she's got to learn me. I can't expect her to be compliant.
Yeah.
That's actually not even my goal. I want to do life with her. I don't want to rule over her.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm just learning like the parallels between, so I talk a lot about one of the things that I've learned to subscribe to, which is I always say businesses are easy, but people are hard. And in order to do business well, you got to do business for people, you know, or with the people are involved in every aspect of our life. And I've been on this quest for about a year to re-engineer the way I look at things and to I don't know how everybody else is on this call. Some people maybe have figured out the dog thing early and they've always, you know, had that in their life, or some people have figured out money early and they've always had that, or maybe their emotional intelligence was just awesome in the beginning. You know, like my youngest son, he's got a lot higher and more sophisticated emotional intelligence than his brother and sister did. He's just a third child. He seems to get it. He can read the room better and he understands. I don't know if that's why, but each kid is, you know, we all have our own modalities. And every selfish man should buy a dog. I really believe that. I'm starting to learn, like, because I've been doing a study for a year about trying to figure out, like, what exactly is your purpose and how do you go from here to there, and what role does earning have? What role does having a passion and a mission have? And you know, can you be missional and not selfish? You know, because innately when you give, you're kind of give it selfishly. And like, can you do things without being seen? And can you allow things to naturally flow through you and not force everything? You know, I've been financially successful for a long time, but I would say I wasn't people successful. I was able to, you know, I've done a good work by people. I've been able to help a lot of people reach their goals. You know, I've always been a great consultant. I genuinely do help people get from here to there without it's just the way I am. I don't try to sell people and get them to do something that they shouldn't do. I don't do things I shouldn't do. I feel like I've lived a good compass.
Yeah.
But I kind of saw people as a means to getting somewhere. And as long as you were going where I was going, like, what a great opportunity for me to work with you. You know?
Right.
But when people weren't going, I would, you know, if they were my competition, I wouldn't like them. Not because they, you know, personally did anything wrong to me. It's just, if you're not with me, you're against me kind of thing. And I just had kind of a forced mentality, I would say. I forced a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so the last year or so, I've been really trying to get into tune with my mind. It started with me quitting drinking, and it started with me spending more time in the morning, filling up my own cup, you know, just praying and thinking and reading and working out and just different variations of trying to understand myself. And then it started with me realizing that you are the sum of the mentors in your life. So I started kind of really charging after and trying to find wise counsel from people and books and podcasts and stuff. And then as of the last year or so, I've been kind of slowing down, and instead of saying, what does everybody else know? I've been asking myself, what do I know? Like, what do I think about things? And how does that impact the world? And I stumbled upon this Cadre thing where I'm recognizing that there's this incredible amount of value in doing business naturally, doing life naturally, not forcing everything. You know, owning your truth, you know, extreme ownership in all things, good and bad. You know, the story is really not about us. It's not about one person. It's a collaborative effort. And, you know, it's easy to take on a narrative where it's about you. And so when you get a dog, like I got some little lessons that I think I've learned, or that I'm learning, that I thought I would share. And, you know, this podcast, I think if I had a goal for the podcast is that people would tune in weekly just to gain perspective and be excited about what's going to come next, just because they genuinely have an interest,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm not threatening, that I'm not coming from a place of having it figured out, or being demonstrative or condemning of anybody's current lifestyle or whatever. I just want it to be open where people can come and recognize that there is a natural order to things.
Mm-hmm.
And my natural order is not better than theirs. We all have our own. But when we understand the value of working together and just allowing things to come and go, well, it works. And one of the ways that I kind of try to look at a lot of things that seems to work for me is I picture a farm. I think I brought it up before. And I picture like my farm, and I picture other people's farm. And, you know, maybe my farm is made up of 6 or 7 different farms. And I think of like money and family and finance, so all these 7 pillars of purpose that we always talk about. I've been calling them 7 checkpoints or 7, but I really think they're the pillars of your purpose. And you got to look at each one of them and say to yourself, like, so I think what I'm trying to say about the Cadre Concept is I believe life is made up of 7 areas. And I think inside of those 7 areas, you got to ask yourself, what do I want out of my life? And how do I receive, not force, the gifts that are in each? So like you and I both being married,
Right.
we get the gift of family. And inside of that gift, there's hardships and there's ups and downs and there's different things, but you have to have this commitment that's a higher level to the other person where you're willing to surrender and put them before you.
Yeah.
It's very challenging. And there's lots of seasons where you're good at it and seasons where you're not, and everything in between. And recently my wife and I had a bit of a medical scare for her, and turned out to be nothing, so no reason to read into it. But it kind of, it rocked me, but not from like I think I'm okay with the natural order of things. If my wife were to get sick, I would be there for every moment, and wherever it led, I would be there for every one of those moments, regardless if it was, you know, fun or not, because she's my person.
Yeah.
But luckily, we got to learn a lesson. You know, I'm turning 40 this year, and my wife's turning 36, and we got to face something that could have been bigger than it was. So we got to think as if it was that big. And I got to ask myself lots of questions about my financial stability, about my emotional stability. And I had this dog, like, at the worst time, you know. I know it sounds really weird, but I felt like it gave me a perspective that I hadn't had before, that I'm human and I can get sick, and that things can change really quickly. And so that every moment is super important, that you're just enjoying the moment and looking for the opportunities in it, because there's lessons in everything, and it's just not that big of a deal when you look at it in different perspectives. Like, I never have to worry about if I get to eat. I never have to worry about it. I don't have any fear of, it's what I get to eat, not if I get to eat. Have you ever thought about that? Like, have you ever been potentially starved?
No, that's interesting. No.
Like, we've never had to face that. I don't even know what that feels like. I don't. But, you know, there's a big part of the world that does.
Yeah.
And not to say that I think that, you know, not to infer anything more than just this statement of that. I don't think it serves us well to lose sight of all the blessings we have. And I think you can navigate the world with a bit of a compass that looks for blessings or looks for curses. And I think having a dog for me has been this unique thing where one of the blessings, my office is literally 60 feet away from a trail that goes like 30 miles. And it's a beautiful manicured trail with signs and benches and bridges, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Ask me how many times I've been on it before I had a dog.
Yeah, right. How many times?
Not enough. Like, I would say maybe 10 times in 20 years.
Wow.
You know? And now I go on it every day. Every day I go walk the trail, and you know, there's homeless people that live in the woods. I think that I've drove by them and without noticing, because I didn't choose to know. I was too busy focused on another thing. Not to say that it changes my day, because it's, you know, that's their choice to be homeless per se, or at least some would say so. I just greet them and say hi and move on with my day. They pet my dog. It's no big deal, but I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
And, my dog, she doesn't care if you're homeless or not homeless. She just loves you. She runs up and cuddles you and rubs you. I mean, there's just something about the way an animal goes about navigating their day. There's no worry. There's no fear of food or fear of, how well they measure up against another person. You notice that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's when you think about selfishness and then doing business from a place of selfishness, and like that's my mode of operation. There's a lot of the things. There's a lot of forcing. There's a lot of not being present. Right. There's a lot of worry or anxiousness there's a lot of stuff that happens inside that space of selfishness. So I'm loving the story is perfect. Like if people go back and listen to it again and you just sort of like think of the whole conversation so far from a business context, like everything you're saying is what's possible in terms of how we be in business. Like having a dog takes you out of that selfish mind and makes you present and has you have to be. You always talk about self-leadership. You have to lead yourself before you can lead others.
Yeah.
When you're being, the thing about being selfish is that it doesn't put you in touch with others. And so sometimes in a selfish state, we're not even in touch with ourselves. Even though it's selfish, we're not even in touch with our own feelings or emotions. It's hard to sort all that out. But
I think I spent a lot of my life emotionally responding to everything. And, I think I'm still an emotional being. I still have emotions and they still are prevalent in my life. But I think I'm learning to decipher which of my emotions are selfish and which of them aren't. I either notice them right away, like with triggers we were talking about, where I can go, we've been here before. Doesn't lead to where we want to be. Or I can, in retrospect, I can look back and go, you know what? That wasn't done. That was done out of, how I feel, not how others feel. I was trying to steer the outcome by influencing people with my emotions based on what I needed. And I didn't spend the time to listen. Right. So I guess if I were listening to this podcast and, why I titled it Every Selfish Man Should Have a Dog, because I think it's a metaphor for putting something else before yourself and learning to be in a state of service. I'm in a unique circumstances. I mean, it's really weird for me because I used to focus every ounce of my day on reaching a certain amount of sales goals. And I don't know that it was ever super unhealthy in the sense that I was a piece of crap doing it. I wasn't selling the wrong things or to the wrong people or nothing. I just was so consumed with if I didn't sell something, I wouldn't have anything to show for my life because I was in a transactional business where I would do a transaction and people were gone largely. And then I had to find more transactions. So I was only as good as my last transaction. Well, I don't think that's horrible, but I just don't think it brought out the best in me. I didn't allow things to take their natural course. I forced them a little bit. And now that I spent a year kind of not doing that, it's really weird. It's like a gravitational pull. I would tell you that I think I'm on tempo to having better results than I've ever had. But I don't think it has anything to do with me forcing it. Now, I'd be remiss to say that the last season didn't perpetuate into this season. There's good things that came. A lot of my momentum right now is people who already trusted me that are just willing to allow me to help them in a different medium. Yeah. As some of you guys may know, I've been a mortgage lender for a long time and I was really good at it and still really good at it. Like I love the way math works. So it's a natural, fun thing I enjoy. I say that with humility. I made so many mistakes. I have to be good now. Yeah. And then I bought an insurance company 3 years ago. And now I've just bought a book that makes me an insurance man, not a hobbyist, So I have all these families that are counting on us and we have this big team now and we have 7 people taking care of our clients and it's a big deal. Wow. And I've been learning a lot about insurance and how they works and what role it plays in people's lives. And I mean, our office just had one of the biggest years it's had as a company. In 37 years it's been around. And we just had one of the biggest months ever. Wow. And I'm not responsible for it. I didn't force that. All I did was just serve the people I'm working with and they serve the people that, are in our database and people we're already working with. And we're just getting to know people with a genuine interest because with insurance, it has a renewal piece. So I don't have to earn something tomorrow. I just have to take good care of people and then the process will continue to go. Right. So I think I've learned that when you just come, for me, the more I get out of my own way, the easier it all works. And I'm not preaching prosperity gospel. I'm not saying that if you just do well, good things happen, that you're entitled to it. I'm just saying that it feels a little more natural when I just be present where I'm present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think my dog, I know it's such a weird analogy, especially for me, because I've never given dogs. I've always thought people that took time out of the day to go walk their dog and stuff, I never really understood it. I could get it before work or after work, but during work, you're at work. You don't stop and walk your dog at work. You work. Pick up your shovel. Well, now I'm realizing that when I walk my dog, I do great thinking. And I slow down, and I think I'm more valuable to people. It's interesting.
That is cool.
But my dog is present everywhere.
Yeah.
That's all it does. She just loves being around people. If she hears people in the park, that's the one time she loses her stuff. She's like, I want to go to where they're at.
Right.
I want to go to the people and love on them. And her tail starts going crazy, and her body's wigging out, and she's bouncing from person to person, just trying to plant planting these seeds of smiles and happiness. And she just genuinely wants to make people happy. And she doesn't really need anything in return. That's just how she's wired naturally.
So
and I just wonder if we took after our dog, if we'd be less selfish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think maybe one of the major takeaways of this episode is that if you don't have a dog, you should go buy a dog.
I want to adopt one, play with one, volunteer for one. I just think like me and my whole team, we went about 3 weeks ago, and we went to the animal shelter, and we cleaned their animal vans that they deliver.
Oh, wow.
We washed all their crates, not all, but a whole bunch for about 3 hours, all of us. And we just served. And it really was kind of behind the scenes. No one really knew. We were behind the building. We were doing stuff that doesn't matter, but we were freeing up the staff to do things that do matter.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was really fulfilling.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't even see a dog while I was there. I was just in the back cleaning. But there was something about just going out of my way to just bless someone else and not be in the front of it, not be seen by others, just enjoying serving with other people and just being content.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm telling you, Chris, I may not make abundant money. Maybe I won't be rich with this philosophy, but I think I'll enjoy things at a much higher level than money ever got me. And so far, it seems like the more joy I have, the easier the money is too. Because it just doesn't have that much weight on me. I'm not worried about when the next dollar is going to come.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That feels like next level wisdom right there, right? Like we spend so much of our lives in the pursuit of wealth, goals, especially in a business context. When you start to step into once you have that and you're stepping into the next evolution of your soul and who you are, you start to realize that's fine, but there's something more about how we're being in the moment, how we're enjoying our life in the moment. And it's not always attached to a goal or money. It's attached to the life we're living in this moment. Just like your dog.
I think I was walking with a guy on the trail today who's a trail guy, and he blessed me with letting me go with him. And I really look up to him because he was stuck for a lot of years in his head to the point where it almost drove him to suicide. He actually put a gun in his mouth. And he said he had more shame after that than he ever did before, because fear caused him to do it. And then fear is what made him so he wouldn't do it, because he's afraid. And he was like, I felt like a loser because my fear wasn't even strong enough to stand up for itself,
Wow. Right.
And he's in this journey for about 3 or 4 years now where he's almost 50, and he's been working really hard at finding his actual peace and getting out of his head and learning to receive and appreciate things and not. Remember I told you that never be offended?
Yeah.
He was kind of echoing this whole expectation thing. Just no expectations. And I think, like, going back to Remy, Remy doesn't have a lot of expectations associated to her affection for me. She really doesn't. It's freely given. And I think, Chris, I would say this. If anybody's listening to this and you're sad, lonely, dejected, you feel like you failed, you're on the bottom looking up, or you're on the top with, your cup is empty, wherever you're at in your journey, I honestly believe the whole go adopt a dog thing, go be selfless. Go be selfless. And I'm not saying like this typical Christianese thing where it's like serve others so you can be fed type thing. I'm just saying, like, learn to take a genuine interest in helping others without expectations of it, both for yourself and for them. Whether or not they receive it or not, that doesn't matter. Whether or not you spend a bunch of time walking around with your chest held high because you did something good or not. It's just, I think when you put yourself in moments, in places where you're selfless, I think the peace that comes from it, the clarity, I think it actually is worth more than any of the other stuff. At least I'm new to this whole idea where I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. and figure out how to go longer, stronger, faster, harder. I'm learning to go with more abundance and expect less of things and just have fun.
Yeah.
Like for my birthday, Chris, I'm going to jump out of a freaking plane.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I've always wanted to do that. I love extreme things.
That is extreme.
I've not done a lot of extreme things. I just talk about them.
Wow.
So I'm going to go do it. Wow. So I told all my friends and they're all like, I'm like, kind of. It's like, I'll unfriend you on Facebook if we don't jump out of a plane together.
That's awesome. When's your birthday?
November 13th.
Oh, wow. So you're going to do it. That's going to be like cold. It's colder then.
Who says I have to do it here?
It's even more extreme. Oh, there you go. Come on, man.
Anywhere.
That's right. So good. I love that.
So listen, if you don't have community and you're listening to this, Chris, anybody, I think I have this new goal of this podcast that just creating community with others on a mission, trying to be our best. I believe in leadership. I think leadership starts with leading yourself and then leading others. And when I say leading others, the greatest leaders are always the ones that serve them the best. And I'm just learning that if you take the time to just genuinely appreciate the people you do it with, whatever you're doing will work better. Yeah. And I hope that you hear that. I don't care if you're at a job like the shipyard where it's like Groundhog's Day and you're kind of, next boat. You never really get to the other side of it. The people you're doing with, that stuff is dynamic and changes and evolving. And there's a lot of stories in there. A lot of people came from crazy places and are going crazy places. And if you actually listened, you'd enjoy the stories. So good. Yeah. I could probably talk on this, kind of just meander around this for a while, but I think I'll leave it at go do something selfless. And if you really want to do it, go buy a dog.
Seriously.
Go buy a dog.
Well, I want to invite people to connect with you and the work you're doing. I know you've got some great stuff happening with the Cadre Concept. How do people connect with you if they want to take it beyond this podcast?
Those tests on Facebook, those little quizzes that people take all the time, and the little ideograms and the disc profile, and everybody's kind of striving to take a test or something to have that test be non-biased and give us an understanding of how we work and how others work. Right. And everybody's striving for this. And I too like those things. I need the validation and if it's going right. And so we kind of by accident created a quiz. We're calling it the Abundant Life Quiz. And it basically goes through these 7 pillars of purpose that we're talking about. And it just asks 10 or so questions that we kind of made. There's no science to it. This is our depiction of what we believe are some of the building blocks of having abundance in these areas. Like in the marriage section, it asks, do you take your wife on a date once a week? Well, I think good marriages there's lots of good marriages that don't do that. But I think great marriages would recognize that the more time you spend with your spouse, the better, right? Yeah. So we have all these questions. And so if you go to cadreconcept.com and you take this quiz, I think that you'll learn a lot about yourself. And I think that on the heels of that, you could put a lot of your deficiencies, if you will. Like if you're not dating your wife, what's the solution? Start dating her. So you could fix that really quickly. It's tangible and practical. And not that you're the sum of all your activities, but you kind of are, right? Like I'm not Shane the businessman. I'm Shane that does business. But being able to take a quiz and figure out where you are in things, I think is kind of helpful. So I would say if you're into those kind of things and you like to learn about yourself, I've created a quiz based on an abundant life. Like, are you living your life and living it to the fullest? And it's about 130 questions, so it's not small. Yeah. And it's broken. It's kind of got a big section on finances and business because it's what I kind of specialize in. And I suggest you go take that test and see where you fall and see what you learn and share it with your wife and see if you can start improving upon some of those things.
I love it. That's rich, man. I love it. So good. Cadreconcept.com.
Yep.
Cadreconcept.com. You guys can take the assessment, the quiz. Cool. Shane, good stuff today, man. Good luck with your dog. I love it. You're in the busy season.
Remy. I'm going to get a tattoo on my shoulder with a heart. It says Remy. Sent on people now.
Going all in. Good stuff, man. All right, well, we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Shane. Great stuff today.
Thank you.